don't get your hopes up. You know, a lot of Deontay Wilder fans I see are getting their hopes up. They're getting their hopes up again, the way I used to. You know, I used to be a big Deontay Wilder fan. They're getting their hopes up. They're seeing that there's talks between Fury versus Wilder. They're thinking to themselves, Fury was the former undisputed heavyweight champion. If Wilder beats him, it would make Wilder look really good. It would be a good name in Wilder's resume. We could go around saying, Wilder is the true champion because he beat Fury, who beat the man. This is what a lot of Deontay Wilder fans are thinking. Trust me, I was a Deontay Wilder big fan. I told you my history. I know how they think. I know how American boxer fans think. This is what they're thinking. But we have to look at the facts, and the facts is there's no fight day confirmed yet. So let's not get too excited. Let's not go around saying, dissing Joshua, saying that Deontay Wilder is the true champion with his WBC belt, saying that once he beats Fury, he's going to be the true champion because although he doesn't have all the major belts, he beat the guy who was the former belt. But, in my own brain, I'm going to say he's the true champion because Fury was the former champion, so therefore it's going to look like he is the true champion, although he doesn't have the belts and he didn't beat the actual true champion, who is Anthony Joshua. But this is how a lot of Wilder fans think. Trust me, I know. This is what they're thinking. Let's not get our hopes up. A lot of times in Deontay Wilder fights, whenever Deontay Wilder is going to fight a big opponent, something always happens. I remember in the first Luis Ortiz fight, do you remember how the fight was canceled? Do you remember that? Do you remember that Luis Ortiz was supposed to fight Deontay Wilder in November 2017? And then do you remember how Luis Ortiz got caught with high blood pressure medication in his system? And what happened? They canceled the fight. The fight was canceled. Luis Ortiz was supposed to fight Deontay Wilder November 3rd, 2017, but because he was caught with steroids, with high blood pressure medication in his system, they canceled the fight. Instead, they put bum-ass Bermane Stavern to fight Deontay Wilder instead. And we know what happened there. Bermane Stavern got destroyed in 2 seconds. It was absolutely horrific. It was a horrible mismatch. Then finally, the Luis Ortiz versus Deontay Wilder fight got made again. This time for 5 months later in March. 4 months later in March 2018. You guys remembered how when I remember like yesterday when Deontay Wilder was set to fight Alexander Povetkin back in 2015, 2016. Everybody was getting their hopes up. All the Wilder fans. Okay, there was, yay, Wilder, he's going to shut everybody up. Because at this point, everybody was complaining about Wilder's resume, per usual, because we already know how his resume was trash. And everybody was complaining. So when he was set to fight, he was set because the Alexander Povetkin was the mandatory. He was the mandatory for Wilder's WBC belt. He was number one, and people were saying, "Will Wilder duck?" But he didn't. He chose to fight Povetkin and go to Russia. I was very, very happy when I heard Alexander Povetkin versus Deontay Wilder was made, because I was like, yes. I felt good again as an American boxer fan. I was like, homie, Wilder gonna go to America? Wilder gonna go to Russia? Fight Povetkin? Scary Russian? What? That's a big deal. And we know what happened. Twice the fight got canceled. It was gonna happen, and then it did not happen. Of course, it wasn't Wilder's fault. Povetkin tested dirty. But the point is this, people. The point is every single time Deontay Wilder is set to fight someone who people perceive as a legit threat or as a credible fight for him to defend his belt, something always mysteriously happens. Something always mysteriously happens that prevents this fight from happening. Again, I'm not saying Deontay Wilder, I'm not saying, and I shall repeat myself, I'm not saying that Deontay Wilder is not going to fight Tyson Fury next. Let me repeat myself. Now, I'm not saying that Deontay Wilder is not fighting Tyson Fury next. I'm saying they might prolong it. Don't be surprised if you hear something happens in the training camp of Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder, and then they cancel the fight. And then they make the fight again for like April 2019. Matter of fact, that would be perfect. Because, matter of fact, that might just happen. We might just hear, Tyson Fury gets a cut in his eyebrow in training camp for preparation for Wilder sometime in late September, October. He pulls out of the fight again, and then Wilder fights somebody who's a low-level heavyweight, some trash opponent, or he fights Dominic Breazeale. Then April 19 comes along, and we see that Deontay Wilder is now fighting Tyson Fury, and Anthony Joshua is now fighting Dillian Whyte, since Eddie Hearn is saying that he will be the favorite. And then we'll have April, Anthony Joshua defending his belts against Dillian Whyte, and Deontay Wilder defending his belt against Tyson Fury. Again, there's always something always happens in Deontay Wilder fights. When he's about to fight someone that people, consider a threat or some type of credible win, something always happens that basically prolongs the fight. Look at Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua. Boxing fans are begging for this fight. Look at how it's almost impossible for it to be made. And so, again, there's always something with Wilder. Wilder can never just make a fight happen without somebody mysteriously getting, hurt in training camp, or somebody testing positive for steroids. There's always something. So, again, just all I'm saying is this. Don't be surprised if it gets canceled, and then... That's what I'm saying to the Deontay Wilder fans. Don't get your hopes up. I know you guys want him to beat him, so you could go around saying, he beat the lineal champion of the world, Tyson Fury. Yeah. Bomb squad. Deontay Wilder's the man. Bomb squad. I know how Americans think, homie. I'm half American, homie. I know how Americans think. I know. I've been around Americans my whole life. I've been around American boxing fans my whole life. I know how these people think. They're going to be, claiming and Deontay Wilder's the true heavyweight champion now. But listen, don't get your hopes up. Look at Wilder's history.